Hi, so thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk just a little bit about apologies. One of the things that we've noticed in some of our work with clients, and I would say particularly with couples, is that sometimes there is, well, I say sometimes, I would say most of the time, there's a really fundamental difficulty with apologies. And so I was thinking we could talk about this a little bit today. And so maybe, maybe talk to us a little bit about the kinds of problems that you see people having with apologies.
Like healthy apologies?
Yeah, in other words, like maybe what do the unhealthy apologies that are so habitual for our clients and maybe for us too at times, what do those look like?
Can I give you that cheesy metaphor I told you about earlier?
Sure, yeah.
Sometimes with my clients, I say that healthy apologies are like healthy bees. Like bees.
Yeah, like honeybees.
Yeah, like bees. It's weird. I remember the sign for bee. I taught that to my daughter who's obsessed with bees. So, healthy apologies, just like healthy bees, are absolutely crucial for a healthy, functioning relationship and society. But often what ends up happening when we apologize is full of empty lies that maintain competition, and it ends up being more of the sting of the bee rather than the honey that comes out.
Okay, yeah, so it's like approximating a real apology. And someone can say, oh yeah, I said sorry, but then it's not like the real meat of it that actually contributes to the well-being of the relationship.
Right, because I get it, most mistakes feel bad, but they're not, minus like murder and things like that, they're not inherently bad. Like, they're actually like beautiful opportunities for cooperation, and people miss that. You mentioned a but. That's the next no-no. It's, I'm sorry, but, which kind of goes back to mutual respect, because we want our words to mean what we say they mean. So what's I'm sorry, but, where your mouth says yes, but your butt says no.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. It is certainly the case that whenever, it seems that when folks say, I'm sorry, but the I'm sorry gets completely lost, and so they've buried aspirationally they've buried the lead. Realistically, it's probably more the case that
they've introduced excuses and criticism.
Yeah, which is maybe, if we're just honest with ourselves, really that's actually what we want.
Yeah. Out
in front, not the I'm sorry. And so, yeah, it's this thing of, I don't know if I could talk just a tiny bit about a metaphor from my own just religious experience. But so I'm an Anglican, and at our church every Sunday we as a congregation, we have this confession that we do and we all say it together out loud. We get in a penitent position, either standing or kneeling, and then we say this all together. We say, Most merciful God, we confess that we have sinned against you in thought, word, and deed, by what we have done and by what we have left undone. We have not loved you with our whole heart. We have not loved our neighbors as ourselves. We are truly sorry, and we humbly repent for the sake of your Son, Jesus Christ. Have mercy on us and forgive us, and so on and so forth. So I think that it's actually a beautiful model for apology. And, this is really disconnected really from any religious conviction. It's just a nice model for an apology. But I think the apologies that often get given in relationships, it's as if on Sunday we were to get together and it would go something like this. Well, most merciful God, we confess that we sinned against you in thought, word, and deed. But here's the thing, you really didn't understand the context. And that's not really what I did, and I didn't really mean it if I did do that. And God, you've got to understand, like, I'm running low on sleep, and I haven't eaten today, and therefore I'm really entitled to behave however I'd like. And but here's the thing, I said that I'm sorry, and so now I've uttered the magic words, and you have to be okay with whatever it is that I do. That's, it would be a weird church service to go to.
Yeah, although I will say, never mind, I'm not going to go there and say, like, the Anglican version is way better than the Catholic version where you're trapped in a room together having to do it, but you can do it all collectively. But it reminds me of something else I tell my clients, that apologies are not a Xanax. It is not used to just relieve the tension. Like, that's not what it's for. Because that is just disrespectful. That's a lie.
Yeah, sometimes I say this too, that an apology is not actually the thing that brings about reconciliation. It is a way to signal to another person that you're actually willing to do what is necessary to reconcile. But I think what a lot of us tend to do is when we say I'm sorry, it's like, well, I said I'm sorry and now you can't be mad at me because I did what's necessary to reconcile. And so either you're again, we wouldn't say this with our mouths, but we say it with our behavior. The options are you're either a terrible person who's unforgiving and unreasonable, or you are pleased with me now and we're okay because I said the magic words. Maybe you could break down a little bit for us, like what kind of the elements that you see being packed inside of a real healthy apology. What would a healthy apology look like to you?
A healthy apology.
Yeah.
Well, it's the thing I say all the time, and I don't know who actually said it originally. Maybe Amy Lou? I'm not sure. We'll look this up and we'll put it in the comments. But connection before correction. So starting with like, I care about you or I love you and I'm sorry. Like taking ownership of what you did and keeping it focused on your actions, not their response. And doing what I did was wrong. You can fill in the blank there. Doing what I did was wrong. I see that it hurt you and it matters to me that I hurt you. I don't want to hurt you. And I'm committed to doing, X, Y, or Z to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And if you don't have any ideas, you can perhaps brainstorm together. Because remember, that's my definition of happiness. Not the absence of problems, but the cooperative solving of problems.
Yeah,
that's
it's
nice, an opportunity for happiness. Like, it's unpleasant, but it does bring about happiness.
Yeah.
Apologies are unpleasant. They really are.
That's, I like so much the elements that you put in there. When I break this down because sometimes clients, they'll just say like, well,
what are the steps?
Like, how do you actually, like, what is a real apology? And I say, well, it's something like this. I did it. So, and this is it. That actually cuts both ways. One of the things I really encourage my clients to do is to never apologize for something that they either did not do or they did it and they genuinely, after really being thoughtful and mindful about it, they look at it and say, no, that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, or if they're just not ready for an apology, there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm not quite ready to apologize yet. Like, I'm going to go think about it.
Yeah.
Like, that would at least be respectful and honest.
Right. Right. So, to say, I'm sorry, but I didn't really do it, it's like, so like, what are you sorry for? So to me, a healthy apology starts with, I did it. Whatever it is that you're saying, I hurt you or I, treated you poorly or whatever, I'm going to start with saying, yes, I did that. I agree that what I did was wrong. I see that it hurt you. I care that it hurt you, and this gets to where you're beautifully bring up this idea of like connecting with the person.
It's much easier to be on the same team if you connect first.
Yeah,
I love you, and let's work this out.
Yeah. So I see that it hurts you. I care that it hurts you. I don't like that I did it. That's, I think, an important part. I don't want to do it again. And I am willing to do what it takes to improve in this regard. And I always want to add that last part of improvement because I think it is just bordering on a bald-faced lie to say, I'll never do it again.
Right. Yeah, because it's like there's not an expectation in, I would say, any kind of relationship that you're not going to hurt each other. The expectation is that when we hurt each other, that it freaking matters to you and you want to do something about it, whether on your own and together. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty good place to start. And so sometimes what's wild, right, is I'll sit with clients, particularly when I work with couples, and, maybe we've got something concrete to work with, husband says, well, you did X and that was really hurtful to me. And I'll say, gosh, I'm wondering, if you might want to or be ready to offer a real apology. And it is so difficult for folks to, and I say this empathetically because, I can imagine if I were in their shoes, it would be hard for me too. This is not they're terrible people or anything. It's just hard. But one thing I've noticed about that, right, is it's so hard for them even to just go through these very sometimes they'll get stuck and they'll say, what do I say? And I don't generally do a lot of work for my clients, but on occasion I'll even like feed them the words, and it's like they can't even parrot it.
Yeah.
And I think what that goes to show you is how used to empty apologies we have gotten culturally, that nobody really has any trouble saying, I'm sorry. Like, we can utter the words, I'm sorry, that's fine. But to say, I did it, it was wrong that I did it, it hurt you, I care that it hurt you, I don't like that I did it, I don't want to do it again, and I'm willing to do what it takes, which is fairly simple. Like, none of that is particularly complicated, but it is so difficult. And it just goes to show you like the difficulty that we have with responsibility. And this gets back to, Adler and Dreiker's, their idea of the courage to be imperfect. We lack that. And so what we do is we hedge our bets and we say, well, yeah, I was imperfect, but not really, actually. And it's like, well, no, actually, we could just own the fact, no, actually, I did a bad thing.
Yeah. I made a mistake, which, as we were saying earlier, you need to make in order to grow.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they're unpleasant, but they're not bad.
Yeah.
Unless it's murder.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Catastrophic. But that's how we treat it.
It reminds me of like with parents who, and this is maybe like a bonus part because I know we're probably over time, but don't force your kids to say, I'm sorry. It's like forcing them to share. That's not really sharing. If you force them to apologize, that's a lie. But if you instead can model it for them, that it gives you a chance to encourage them, help them feel capable, and they get to choose it for themselves. And kids, it's hard to say sorry, but if you model it then maybe you're not going to be sitting on our couch not knowing how to apologize to your partner.
And actually, I think I'm actually glad that you brought up parenting. I know we've been talking about this a lot in the terms of couples or something like that, but it's there's this really interesting idea that seems to be quite common, at least in our area of the country and just the kind of the culture that we're embedded in, where it's like, well, yeah, parents should never apologize to children because parents don't owe children apologies. They're in authority, they're whatever. But actually, look, I'm not even going to argue so much about the authority piece. There's something about that's culturally competent for you or I am to try and break all of that down, and get kind of argumentative with parents. But the idea that somebody in a position of authority can apologize to somebody else, that is,
it's a gift.
Yeah, and it's redemptive,
Redemptive.
And so there are moments, let's say, when maybe I don't yell at my kids generally, but of course there are moments when I have. And in those moments, it's so tempting for me to say, well, I'm sorry, but you guys have been on my nerves for the past hour, and well, I'm sorry, but you asked me that 7 times already. When really what I need to do is I just need to lean down. Hey, kiddo, I yelled at you. It's not okay to yell at you. I saw the hurt on your face, and I don't like that I hurt your feelings. I don't like that I yelled at you. That's not the kind of relationship I want to have. And listen, I'm gonna work on that, rather than explaining why it was okay for me to yell.
Yeah, because it's like, I'm sorry that your feelings are hurt by what I did.
Yeah.
That's a you. It sounds like a you problem, kid.
Yeah.
And if they're really young, like with my daughter, like sometimes she wants to say sorry, I can tell, but it's just hard because shame's involved with that. Like they know they've done something wrong. But I have a little script that I say, like, it's hard to find your apology voice right now. Happens to me too sometimes. I'll use it for you. And then you model it. Say, like, I'm sorry, I was feeling frustrated and it came out as a slap in the face. And here's what I'm going to do next time. And if they don't know, like, sometimes my daughter does apologize. And I'm like, thank you for apologizing. What's our plan for next time we get frustrated? And then we come up with a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that some good food for thought for folks, and I certainly hope this, again, could be applicable in a counseling setting, but then just even culturally, everybody's got some kind of relationship. You're a parent, you're a spouse, a partner, a friend, a coworker. You got some kind of relationship, and there's probably room for some healthy apologies somewhere in there. So
I will not apologize for these, though. Christmas here.
Yeah, editing the sound on this is going to be a blast. It's going to be great. Thank you all so much. We'll talk to you next time.